which Big Ten teams could have a first round pick in 2026 that did not in 2025? I have 10 teams here that I'm going to list off, and I'm going to play a little game here with it. I'll
Oh,
give you the team. I'll give you a few players that are a possibility. So, fans might have more players listed, but these are a few that I came up with. If you are somebody that thinks of another name, please do put it in the chat. But and then I want your rating from 1 to 5 on if you think this team will have a first rounder next year or not. 1 is no way, you're crazy for even talking about this team. 5 is, oh yeah, no doubt they're getting a first rounder out of somebody. So does that make
mhm.
sense?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All right. My first one I will bring up to you is let's go Illinois first. Illinois, Gabe Yakus, Luke Altmaier, two of the guys that could do that. Obviously, there could be more, but those were the two I wanted to highlight. You're rating 1 to 5 on Illinois.
I say, are the Scott brothers? Would they come out next year?
I think Xavier Scott comes back, or yeah, he would come out next year.
Yeah. I would say a 3.
Okay.
I think if one of the Scott brothers comes out or Altmaier, I I think Jacobs isn't in the right position, and I don't think he'll test well enough to be first round. Altmaier is an interesting case because I don't think he has a lot of buzz, but I think he could play his way into it, especially if he has a good year. And I think if he puts a lot of tape, quarterbacks can really be at a premium. And we've seen that, this past year is probably an outlier, but in other years, we've seen quarterbacks fly up the board that you don't expect because of how they play and then how they test. So I would say 3 based on that.
Okay. John says Ari Wasserman did an early mock draft and only had one Big Ten QB going in round 1. Yeah, I mean, show me Ari Wasserman's mock draft before. I'm sure he had James Pierce going number 1. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying to dog Ari Wasserman or anything like that, but it's also like,
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is. So, um, Caitlin says I could see Xavier Scott. Maybe Altmaier got a 6th round grade this year. I don't know if he could work all the way up to first. Yeah, it'd be a little bit of a reach. I think Gabe Yakus is probably the more likely one. I think he had a 2nd or 3rd round grade for
Did he
if he
really?
came out this year. Yeah, it was pretty high. Um, but
Huh.
but there were guys that had 2nd or 3rd round grades this year that went like 5th or 6th round. So it's like it was just so much craziness. So sometimes you have to actually go through the combine and all that stuff to get all that. All right, let's do Iowa. Zach, Xavier Nwankpa and Mark Gronowski were two of the guys I thought of there. Do you see Iowa having a chance to have a first rounder?
I've got a big fat 1.
Mm, poor Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think if Gronowski wasn't in the FCS and he's had maybe 2 years at, in the Big Ten, maybe, but 1 year, that's really hard to build.
Yeah. And I think just safety, unless if you're elite, you're rarely going to get first round buzz.
Yeah, and that's nothing against Xavier Nwankpa. It's just safety position. So.
Yeah.
All right, USC, Zach. Some ones I thought of and I saw on a few big boards and stuff like that close to the first round. Makai Lemon, Jaden Mayava, and Anthony Lucas, former 5-star, should be starting at edge for them this year.
Mm. Oh man. I'll say 2.
Yeah.
Because I think Lucas and Mayava, and Lemon, they're all in premier positions, but they all have to make big leaps.
Trojan Fight agreed with you there, but he did just quickly get his comment in there.
It's true. I didn't look at it though. I made
Yeah.
that decision before I saw Trojan's
Yeah.
his insight.
I do think USC is interesting because they have recruited, some really good players. So
Yeah.
somebody could pop up, but we'll see. I don't know about Jaden Mayava. Makai Lemon probably has the best chance there out of anybody, at least from what he's shown recently. All right,
Yeah.
Zach, big one here. UCLA, Nico Iamaleava.
I'll say 4.
Oh, okay.
And now I kind of want to take that back. If he comes out, I think it could be a 4.
Okay.
And the reason is because, and we see it all the time, they draft on traits often, not
Mhm.
necessarily on statistics, which in some ways is good, in other ways it's not good. But I could see, like, he's already shown the desire. Like, I don't think he's interested in staying in college. Mock drafts are already showing him as the number 2 overall pick in certain NFL mock drafts. Now, mock drafts are stupid this time of year. So, like, I'm not saying that you should listen to those, but I just think his measurables are going to be very attractive. And I think it's very possible that even if he doesn't have a great year at UCLA, somebody takes a flyer on him late first round.
It's a possibility. Yeah, I like what you're thinking there. All right, let's go to the next one. This is the one I had the most names for because actually this team does have a number of players that have been rated high. No 5 stars here, but a number of players have been rated high, and they got a wide receiver from Ohio State this past year. So who knows what could happen there. Wisconsin, Tackett Curtis, linebacker. He was a high 4-star. Jaden Ballard, wide receiver, former Ohio State wide receiver. They have a number of offensive linemen that are going to be eligible that they were either number 1 player in Wisconsin or number 1 player in Minnesota in their class. And, 4-star top 150 players, Joe Bruner, JP Benjoshell. I probably totally screwed that up. I apologize. And then Riley Mahlman. Any thoughts on Wisconsin 1 through 5 there, Zach?
I think I'll go with like a -7.
Ooh, ouch. Okay.
It's just no way.
I thought maybe the number could help a little bit. Maybe a 2 or
No,
no?
I
No.
can't.
Okay. All right.
So most of these linemen, I don't think have developed enough yet.
Yeah.
And then the other guys, they're not like Tackett Curtis has not demonstrated to me that he's anywhere close to a first rounder. I don't know if he's gonna get drafted.
Yeah. He doesn't have the athleticism.
Yeah, and then
Let's speak for yourself.
Jaden Ballard's not gonna get like he would have to have an insane year, and even then, I don't think.
Well, and they don't draft on speed like they used to.
Yeah,
Isaiah Bond didn't even get drafted this year.
yeah.
You know.
So
So
I just don't think. I think actually, out of any team you have on this list, Wisconsin's actually the least likely to have anyone. I would even go as far to say least likely to have someone in the first 2 days of the draft.
wow. Well, we made Wisconsin fans mad the last episode, so we'll just keep making them mad. They said, "Hey, we thought you guys were Ohio State fans. Why aren't you biased for Luke Fickell?" And I said, "Well, it's because we try not to be biased, but it is what it is."
It's because Luke Fickell hasn't given us anything to be excited about, which is unfortunate. Like we want him to, but
That's
he's
basically what I said. Yeah, I was like, we want to be excited, but if we're being realistic, there's nothing to be excited about. So.
yeah.
All right, Zach. I know John will like this one. Indiana. Fernando Mendoza, D'Angelo Pons, Mikael Kamara, Elijah Surratt. Also, somebody mentioned him
Mhm.
earlier. I don't know how I left him off there. For some reason, I did though. But I mean, those are 4 pretty powerful names to possibly get into the first round from
Yeah.
Indiana. What's your rating there?
I'm gonna make Indiana fans mad. I'm gonna say 2.
Whoa.
But here's my rationale. I don't think Mendoza's gonna come out this year.
Okay. So you think he could be a first rounder, but maybe next
Yes.
year? Okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he'll stay in because I think we saw that for a lot of quarterbacks, it's better to stay an extra year in
Okay.
this draft. I think Pons and Kamara and Surratt, I think the problem that they're going to have is their measurements. Like Pons is a short corner. Kamara is a short edge. He's 6'1". Surratt is a tough son of a gun. I love him, but he's not like I think he's more like going to be a second, third, fourth round pick where he's does the dirty work. I just don't think any of those guys are going to pop athletically like other teams will. So I hate to say it because I think they're all great players, but again, it's one of those things where they're going to draft not just on your film, but on your on your on your measurables as well.
That's fair. That's fair. I was a little surprised by the two to start, but I can see where you're going from there.
Yeah.
John says Aiden Fisher needs some love too. Only reason I didn't put him in there is because linebacker. If you're not a partial edge, you don't typically get up there as much. But John's right.
Yeah.
Aiden Fisher's gonna get drafted next year. Really good player. Don't think he'll be first round, but he deserves some love
Yeah.
for his play and who he is. So
Yeah. I think Indiana will have a good chunk of day 2 and early day 3 picks next year.
yeah, totally.
Like, yeah, so like not first rounders, but they have a solid roster next year.
Yeah. All right, I think these would be a little bit quicker here, Zach. Nebraska, Dane Key, Dasan McCullough. Any chance there? Sorry, Nebraska fans. You
It's
got
a
one.
1 for the podcast listeners.
Yeah, you couldn't tell. Zach, I was not gonna put this team in there, but they have had a first or a second round draft pick for like 6 years in a row now, which is something that really only like Ohio State and Georgia and Alabama is doing. Actually, did Alabama? Yeah, Alabama did with Booker, so their streak is still going too. Um, Minnesota, I don't really know who to put there other than Darius Taylor, but I mean, PJ
No.
does this where you're like, who's going to be their first or second rounder? And then somebody has a really good year and pops up. It could happen. We'll see. But your thoughts on a
I
first
say, are
rounder
there
from Minnesota?
are there linemen that are eligible next year for them? I would
There
think
was a
that they're.
defensive lineman, I think, that I saw that I debated on. Jeffries, maybe. But
Which, by the way, I don't think Jaw Joyner got drafted,
yeah,
and
that was a mistake.
yeah, I'm like, that's dumb. He was fantastic last year. Um, yeah, I love Darius Taylor. He's not a first round back, and that's not a knock on him. There are very few first round running backs, and so I just don't think I don't see. I think Coy Parrish the year after is a
Yeah.
potential, but again, you run into like safeties. Like, can safeties actually, unless you're really elite, can
That's
you
why
be
I think it
first
helps
round?
him that he's playing both ways this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So. All right, two more left. I'll start with the one that's probably more likely. Washington, Denzel Boston, Takario Davis. They have some other guys as well, but I think those are probably the big two to mention. Damon Williams cannot go to the NFL this year. He would be next year.
Yeah.
Jonah Coleman, I guess, would be one to mention too. But like you said, running backs, that's so
Yeah,
hard to say for a
you'd
first
have to
rounder.
be you have to be really good. I love me some Denzel Boston. I'll say 3
Three. Okay.
because I think Boston could work his way up, but I'm not sure that he is. Yeah, I think there's a lot of receivers in next year's draft, and it could be a log jam. And so it could be tough for him to fight through to the first round.
Okay. All right, last one, and I actually wasn't even going to put this team on there, but I saw a big board that had both of these guys in the top 60 of their big
Hmm.
board, which I thought was kind of crazy, but you know what? I'm going to put them on there. We'll let you rate them. Michigan State, Aiden Childs and Jack Velling, tight end Jack Velling, who did not have a great year last year, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I'll say 2. I'll say
Two.
2 because like one of them could pop, but I think Childs. I think if he leaves next year, he's insane. Sorry, that's the wrong way to put it. I don't think it'd be a smart business move for him to leave next year. And Jack Velling as a tight end, like you have to be a really, really good tight end. Like this year was again an aberration that 2 Big Ten tight ends got picked in the first round.
Yeah. Tight end's not likely to go in the first round, but two really good players that did this year, so makes sense.